I'm Kat Stacey. I've been making jewellery for over 10 years now, probably getting on 15. It started off as a hobby and I've grown it to be my full business now and I love it. My intention is that my jewellery will be worn to honour all the moments and people that make our lives so rich and so multifaceted. You know, we celebrate life's big achievements, our big moments. We really push through the hard times. We cherish the people that we love and the memories when they're gone. And my jewellery honours that. And it's such an amazing thing to be asked to play my part in other people's lives in that way. And today I'll be doing a tutorial on making these really pretty, simple but beautiful labradorite and aquamarine cluster earrings. So I hope you enjoy it. So today I'm going to show you how to make these labradorite and aquamarine cluster earrings. You will need whichever focal stone you're going to use. I'm working with some really pretty labradorite beads. Really nice facet on those, and some much smaller stones for the cluster. Aquamarine, tiny little rondelles. Silver wire. I've chosen 0.4mm half hard silver wire, and that's for the focal stone. For the cluster stones you'll be using head pins. These ones are 28 gauge silver head pins, but obviously choose whichever gauge is appropriate for the holes in the stones that you're using. And then just to finish off, it will be just ear wires, so whichever ear wires are your favourite, and that will work with the design and the kind of style you're going for. Tools wise, dead easy, really simple setup for these earrings. So we've got round nose pliers, long nose or chain nose pliers, bent nose pliers, and some wire cutters. So first we're going to start with your head pin and a cluster stone. Thread them on and take your round nose pliers. Get those pliers nice and flush up to the edge of the bead. Bend the wire over to make a right angle. Just shift the pliers round so in the middle of that corner that you've just made, and bend that wire all the way round, and this makes that first loop. Take your bent nose pliers to hold that loop really securely, and then you can hold that tail, wind it round. I like 2 or 3 times. I think it looks pretty, and by not doing it any more than that, it doesn't add too much length, that little part. Snip off the end with your wire cutters, and then use your chain nose pliers to just tuck in that little tail. And that's the first little cluster stone. Then we'll carry on, do the other 2, and then we're ready to add them to the focal bead. Once you've done those 3 little cluster beads, we're ready to get the focal bead ready and add them to it. So take your focal bead and the wire and thread it straight on. I tend not to pre-cut my wire because I find that it just causes unnecessary waste. By doing it this way, it keeps that wastage down to a minimum. And while I know you can, and I do, recycle my silver, I think with the cost of silver these days, I think anyone can agree that keeping wastage to a minimum is always a good thing. So let's take your round nose pliers and hold them about 1 centimetre or so from the end of the wire. Again, turn the wire so you've got that right angle. Shift your pliers round to the middle of that corner and swing the wire over and round to make that first loop. Now before we go any further, what we need to do next is add those cluster beads. Sometimes you might need to just use your nail to just open a tiny gap to allow us to thread those on. 1, 2, 3. Now once they're all behaving and sitting in the right place, as you can imagine it's quite fiddly with these tiny beads, you can get your bent nose pliers to hold that loop in place while you wrap the wire around to secure it. Again, as before, snip off your excess and tuck in that little tail. You can slide your bead back down, and now we're just going to make that final top loop. So now you're ready to add the focal bead. Get your round nose pliers nice and close to your bead again. And if you want your loops to be facing the same way to keep it really neat, then just make sure you've got the wire in the right positioning here, so that this first right angle that you make is going to keep that loop facing the same way as the other one you've made. Swing the wire around as before to make that first loop. Back to the bent nose pliers to hold that loop, and just wrap that wire around. Snip off your excess and tuck in your tail. There we go. Ready to add the ear wire. Now this is the easiest bit. Back to your pliers, bent nose and straight nose. Open the loop in your ear wire. Always twist in this motion and never pull apart. It'll make sure that you keep the integrity of that loop so it doesn't get misshapen or weakened. You can then thread on your bead. I like to make sure that the tail of the wire of that top loop is facing backwards, so you can't see it when you're looking at somebody who's wearing the earrings. It just keeps it neat. Close that loop in just the same way that you opened it. And there we go. Your earrings are finished. I've made other tutorials for Kernowcraft. If you have a look on their website, then you can find the one that I did, which was for recycling scrap silver. So all your little offcuts. So from this tutorial, whenever you're working with silver, save every single scrap. You can melt them down into these fabulous little pebbles of silver that are just beautiful. Each one's completely different. You never get two that are exactly the same, and that's the beauty of them. For me, that collection is about our bodies. You know, when the silver cools and hardens, often it wrinkles and dips, and you get these wonderful lumps and bumps and creases, and I think that's like our bodies really. You know, our laughter lines, as we like to call it, our wrinkles, our lumps and bumps, it's a sign of a life well lived, I think, and I think that's something that's amazing. Our bodies do incredible things for us, and we give them quite a hard time really, so it's a really minimal collection, but it's got a big meaning behind it, I think. So yeah, you can learn how to make those too. Kernowcraft have got so many other tutorials on their website and on their YouTube, so definitely worth checking out. I'm on social media, I've got a website, catstaceyjewellery.com. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, checking out any of the other tutorials, and any questions give me a shout. Thanks for watching.